concert of the season. Our first piece will be the 90-second Flourish for Wind Band by Vaughan Williams. Written in 1939, Flourish for Wind Band was intended as an overture for a pageant, and in the decade following its premiere was lost. In 1971, the score resurfaced and was finally published. Vaughan Williams' music has often been said to be characteristically English in the same way as that of Gustav Holst, which you'll hear later, Frederick Delius, George Butterworth, and William Walton. In All Beyond the Origins of the English Imagination, Peter Ackroyd writes, "If that Englishness in music can be encapsulated in words at all, those words would probably be ostensibly familiar and commonplace, yet deep and mystical, as well as lyrical, melodic, melancholic, and nostalgic, yet timelessness." Ackroyd quotes music critic John Alexander Fuller Maitland as having observed that in Vaughan Williams' style, one is never quite sure whether one is listening to something very old or very new. I hope you enjoy this short and powerful piece, Flourish for Wind Band. The Godfather, as arranged by Robert Longfield. The theme was written for the 1972 film, The Godfather. A few interesting facts about the Godfather trilogy. First, the word mafia is never mentioned once in the entire trilogy. Secondly, the scene in The Godfather where Peter Clemenza makes spaghetti sauce was added in case the movie was a flop. Director Francis Ford Coppola said that in case the movie flopped, he at least wanted people to know how to make spaghetti. The final bit of trivia I have for you is a bit of a spoiler. The presence of the color orange, or of actual oranges, in a scene signifies an upcoming death or assassination attempt. So be sure to look for oranges next time you're watching this classic movie. I hope you enjoy this arrangement of Speak Softly Love, the theme from The Godfather. Polish folk song arranged by Henry W. Davis, featuring, of course, the clarinet. It is a popular musical composition from the end of the 19th century, which has been used as an opener in popular Polish radio shows since 1971. The piece has a simple and catchy melody featuring a prominent extended eighth note arpeggio, typically performed in B-flat major. According to Polski Radio Program 1, the music was created in Austria by a composer named A. Humfat. Please enjoy Henry Davis's rendition of Clarinet Polka, and don't forget to listen for the clarinet riff. I'm sure this is the piece you've all been waiting for, the Intermezzo from the First Suite in E-flat for Military Band by Gustav Holst. You've already heard about Holst's band achievements, however, band was just a small portion of his compositional career. Although staunchly British, Holst took an interest in Hindu philosophy and Sanskrit literature in 1895. Being a composer, his immediate impulse was to set some hymns from the Rig Veda, the most important of Hindu scriptures, to music. Dissatisfied with the English translations of the Rig Veda, Holst decided to learn Sanskrit so that he could better translate the hymns. In doing so, he opened an entirely new world for himself, which I'm sure many of you never imagined, seeing as you're about to hear a stereotypical British march. Holst began work on an opera, Sita, in 1899, based on the Hindu epic Ramayana. Holst never saw it performed during his lifetime, but this opera helped him establish a more direct musical style. In 1900, Holst wrote his Cotswold Symphony, partly an elegy written in memory of William Morris. He also completed his Ave Maria, which was his first published piece, and in 1903, Holst also wrote a symphonic poem entitled Indra, which was a vivid portrait of the god Indra and his battle with the drought. Overall, Holst was impervious to whims and fashion. He was wary of success and was not puffed up by failure. He once said, if no one likes your work, you have to go on for the sake of the work, and you're in no danger of letting the public make you repeat yourself. Holst's personality was a remarkable combination of contradictions. He was a practical realist, but he was also a dreamer and a visionary. There was a strong logical clarity of expression with a capacity to create the most complex contrapuntal forms, and there was the irrational romantic creativity side of him as well. These contrasts in his personality are very apparent in his music, so see if you notice these traits in this intermezzo from the First Suite. Medley, Highlights from West Side Story by Leonard Bernstein. As arranged by Ted Ingram, West Side Story is loosely based on Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. The story is set in the West 50s and the West 60s of the Upper West Side neighborhood of New York City in the mid-1950s, an ethnic blue-collar neighborhood. The musical explores the rivalry between the Jets and the Sharks, two teenage street gangs of different ethnic backgrounds. The members of the Sharks from Puerto Rico are taunted by the Jets, a white working-class group. The young protagonist, Tony, one of the Jets, falls in love with Maria, the sister of Bernardo, who's the leader of the Sharks. The dark theme, sophisticated music, extended dance scenes, and focus on social problems marked a turning point in American musical theater. Bernstein's score for the musical includes Something Coming, Maria, America, Somewhere, Tonight, Jet Song, I Feel Pretty, A Boy Like That, One Hand, One Heart, G, Officer Krupke, and Cool. In this evening's arrangement, you will hear the opening theme, Maria, I Feel Pretty, and Tonight. Please enjoy Highlights from West Side Story. Genevieve for filming this evening's performance. Let's give them a round of applause. Up next, we have Georgia on My Mind, a song which was written by Hoagy Carmichael in 1930. In Carmichael's autobiography, he writes the origin of the song. A friend, saxophonist, and band leader, Frankie Trombauer, suggested, "Why don't you write a song called Georgia?" Nobody lost much in writing about the South. While the song is almost universally believed to have been written about the state of Georgia, the lyrics, written by Stuart Gurrell, are ambiguous enough to refer either to the state or a woman named Georgia. The song has been popular since its recording in 1930, and in 2003, Rolling Stone magazine named Georgia on My Mind the 44th greatest song of all time. Please enjoy this piece, Georgia on My Mind. Should be something that you all should be able to sing or hum along to at some point. We have Broadway in the 90s, which includes the favorite and well-known Broadway tunes, Circle of Life from The Lion King, This Is the Moment from Jekyll and Hyde, Godspeed Titanic from Titanic, Seasons of Love from Rent, and Beauty and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. Arranger John Higgins is managing producer and editor for Hal Leonard Corporation, the nation's largest publisher of printed music. He began in the music field as a student arranger from the University of Michigan Band under Dr. William D. Ravelli, and gained invaluable experience as a public school teacher in suburban Chicago. A co-author in the Essential Elements series of methods for band, John is best known for his many compositions and arrangements for choirs, bands, and orchestras. I hope you enjoy his arrangement of Broadway in the 90s. next piece, Lass's Trombone. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio, James Henry Fillmore Jr. was the eldest of 5 children. In his youth, he mastered piano, guitar, flute, violin, and the slide trombone, which he at first played in secret because his conservative religious father believed it was a sinful instrument. Fillmore was also a singer for his church choir. He began composing at the age of 18. This piece, Lass's Trombone, became a popular brass feature during the swing era and beyond. This piece would make a good background theme for the story of Fillmore's love affair with the trombone. Fillmore gained fame as the father of the trombone smear, writing a series of 15 novelty tunes featuring trombone smears. A number of these have a strong ragtime influence. Be sure to listen closely for Fillmore's favorite instrument in this piece, Lass's Trombone. King fell in love with music at the age of 11, and he bought a cornet with money earned by selling newspapers and began to take lessons. He soon exchanged that instrument for a euphonium, which he played in the Canton Marine Band, which was a young boys' band. His only formal music introduction consisted of 4 piano lessons and 1 harmony lesson from a musical show director, William Bradford. His formal education ended with the completion of 8th grade. Then he set about learning the printing trade as an apprentice. Composing at night, Carl worked at the printer shop during the day. At 19, King ran away to the circus as a baritone performer, aspiring to eventually join John Philip Sousa's Marine Band staff during World War I. With no opening, he applied for the Army's bandmaster position at Camp Grant instead, and did not get a chance to serve actively as the war ended on his reporting date. King eventually settled in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and became a well-established publisher, composer, and bandmaster there. King was instrumental in the passage of the Iowa Band Law in 1921, which allowed cities to levy a local tax for maintenance of a band. He commemorated this with one of his marches entitled Iowa Band Law. In 1960, King would direct Iowa Band Law with the largest mass band ever assembled, 188 high school bands and nearly 13,000 musicians at a nationally televised University of Michigan football game. Aside from massively composing, King was quite a familiar figure in the city street. Most mornings, he could be seen in the next-door barbershop enjoying one of his greatest pleasures, stretching out in the barber's chair getting his morning shave. He would usually have his coffee break at the corner restaurant, visiting with the Main Street businessmen. His daily walk to the post office, which was a block and a half, took up a considerable portion of his day. Everyone he met stopped to say hello, visit, seek advice, or comment on his latest concert. Published in 1955, The American Way portrays that idealized American lifestyle, which Carl clearly seems to have had the pleasures of. Please enjoy The American Way. A Pops concert staple composed in 1950 actually features a manual typewriter that we're getting set up over here. Originally, it would have been on stage with the orchestra. How many of you know what a typewriter actually is? Raise your hand. I should hope so. Okay, I'm just kidding. How many of you actually grew up with a typewriter? It looks like most of you probably. Okay, I'm sure you never found it very musical. What? My family has one. Oh, whatever. My family has one, I'm serious. My sister collects one too. I'm sorry you never really found it very musical though, unless you had a little bell on it. In a 1970 interview, Anderson described how he made the typing sound a part of the music and not just an added effect. We have two drummers up here, actually three, and Anderson said, a lot of people think we use stenographers, but they can't do it because they can't make their fingers move fast enough. So we have drummers because they can get wrist action. Leonard Slatkin, conductor of the new Anderson CDs, has played a few typewriters himself on the concert stage and says it's hard. You have to tamp down all the middle keys so that only the two outside ones work, and you have to start with your right hand in order to be able to hit the carriage return where Anderson specifies. The typewriter is used as a theme for numerous radio programs and television shows. I hope you enjoy this fun and interesting Anderson piece, The Typewriter. piece this evening, we have one of my personal favorite Sousa marches, the High School Cadet. In 1888, Sousa composed the march past of the National Fencibles in honor of a renowned militia drill team affiliated with the National Guard of the District of Columbia. In 1890, the rival drill team of the Washington High School, Washington Central, asked Sousa to compose a march for them, and he obliged with the High School Cadets March. It quickly became one of Sousa's most popular marches. We say that about every march, but it really was. Just 4 years after its composition, the Nebraska State Journal listed it as one of the composer's most notable marches, along with the Washington Post, which I think we already played, Liberty Bell March, another one of my favorites, and several others. While relatively simple and catchy, this piece makes me wish I had played a trumpet for some reason. Please enjoy High School Cadets. Genevieve Municipal Band. Let's give them all a round of applause. I'd also like to thank the setup crew for all of their hard work. Let's give them a round of applause. Please like our Facebook page. It's just St. Genevieve Municipal Band. Please like it. And feel free to come out next Thursday for our 4th concert of the season. We hope to see you all there. Thank you.